Welcome to this YSCIS training module, Persons, Searching and Adding. The purpose of this module is to provide you with some key information about searching for and adding person records. In this module, you will learn how to do the following. Use the search functionality to find clients, add a new person record, create a new consent, create a new alias, create a new relationship, create an address, create a new econtact, and assign a key worker. Using the search functionality to find clients. It's important to maintain a single record for each client within your workgroup. So before you can create a new person record, you must search to ensure they don't already exist. Our client is Edward Smith, and we intend to start working with him. The first step is to see if he is already within YSCIS. Assuming we've just logged into YSCIS, we'll start from the home page. There are three primary search avenues available. The first is the family name search. From the home page, the quickest way to search is via the family name search located at the bottom left of the screen. I will type Smith and review the search results. This brings up the search tab located within the Persons page. It displays a list of search results based on the family name field. You could have achieved the same result by clicking on the Persons page search tab. The method you have just been shown has saved you one click. We've looked at the search results and we can't see Edward Smith. Let's look at further search options to determine if Edward has an existing person record in YSCIS. The Search tab has the ability to search on other fields. It defaults to a name search, but you can also search on address and phone number. Let's explore the name search a bit further before looking at the other fields. You can see that family name has Smith. We can search for that, but we already know it doesn't exist. We can delete that and search for Edward as a given name, and there are no Edwards. We can look at the address and we can look for either his street or suburb. So we're looking for the suburb. And there's a few people in there. And we can search on the phone number. So with the phone number, you need a minimum of 4 digits. So 1, 2, 3, 4 doesn't return any results. That's because it's only looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is clearly not the full phone number. We need to expand this search so that it displays phone numbers which contain 1, 2, 3, 4. This is done with the use of wildcards. The wildcards within YSCIS are the % and the asterisk. We're going to go back to the name search and explore the wildcard facility further. So if we're typing son into family name, that's all it's looking for. If we type in %son, then it's looking for everything ending in son, and you can see the results. If we type a wildcard son and then another wildcard, then it will look for anything containing son. And in this instance, there's still sun on the outside, but if there was sun in the middle, it would have found that as well. Let's try another one with wildcards on either side. OU, and you can now see it's finding OU in the middle. Another search feature enabled by default is the fuzzy search. Fuzzy search uses built-in intelligence to offer names that are close to the one you searched, but not necessarily looking at the spelling alone. For example, if we look for Doe in the surname, it will find Doe and Doe because that sounds like Doe. And it's also found two, so presumably two can sound like Doe. So let's do our search again for the family name Smith. Which we know doesn't show Edward Smith, but we have a person 1 Smith and a person 2. If we wanted to look at this record to confirm that it isn't Edward, we click on it to open that person record. It now goes to the Persons page, Details tab. If you look to the left of the screen, you will see the Recent list. This shows the last 10 records that you've opened. You can see that it's currently showing the one we have opened. This is another way to find people. We have not yet opened Edward Smith's person record, so that's why it's not showing on this list. Now that we have ensured that Edward doesn't have an existing person record, we're going to step through adding a new record. To do that, we go to the Persons, Search, and click Add New Person. Adding a new person record and creating new consent. You're immediately prompted to record a consent for the client. Everybody being entered into YSCIS must have a consent recorded. So you'll keep getting prompted until we complete that, which we'll do shortly. Note how Smith auto-populates into the family name field, as that was what we searched for prior to adding this new record. We'll type Edward into the given name field. If I click on the envelope, I can put in a title, position, and organisation. Sex is a mandatory field. There's an additional drop-down where you can select from a list of values that identifies as gender. Edward has told me his date of birth is 01/01/2000. So I'll put that in, but as you can see, YSCIS allows me to estimate his year of birth if I don't have an exact birthday at the time of setting up this record. It's recommended to update the birthday to include the correct birth date as soon as you can, as this will ensure there's no double up or confusion with profiles in the future. We go down the page, the following fields aren't relevant to Edward, so I'm not touching these for the moment. I'm now ready to save. The details are now saved and displayed on the Details tab. And again, I'm immediately prompted to add a consent. Consent is mandatory. As soon as you add a person record, a warning message pops up. This message will continue to appear until a consent record is added. Each person recorded in YSCIS must have a consent record. For example, a parent of a client. It's possible to have multiple consents current in a client's file. Organisations may ask clients for additional consent, for example, travelling in a work vehicle. I've discussed consent with Edward and he's given consent for me to gather information in order to provide him with services. To add consent, click on the Consent tab and click Create New Consent. Note how the start date defaults to today, but this can be backdated. The review date is mandatory, and it's recommended to be 3 months. So click on the calendar field, and I'm going to skip ahead a few months and select a date in April. I explain the form to Edward, and I tick these top check boxes as applicable to my conversation. I'm now ready to fill in the rest of the form. These text boxes are summarised by the following statements. I consent to the following specific information about me. I consent to this information being released to the following parties, and I consent for that information to be used for the following purposes. So for Edward's case, I'll enter the following information in. In this box, the consenting to be released to the following parties, and I consent for that information for the following purposes. I have a note, and I'll save this record. And when you save the record, it now brings up a couple of other boxes, one of which is a signature box. So if we had a tablet, we could get Edward to sign the tablet. It works with a mouse, so I'll just write this with a mouse. Or I could upload a scanned copy of his signature on my organisation's own consent form. If organisations do have their own consent form, it can be uploaded onto this page with select and upload. But it's important, if you do have your own consent form, that organisations have the following statement included on that. And that states, I understand that non-identifying information will be provided to relevant departments for research, reporting and statistical purposes only. Non-identifying information means that your personal details are not provided. So now that I have I have asked Edward to sign the screen, I'm now going to save this consent. And it's now showing up in the list of consents. Creating a new alias. Now that we've recorded consent, we can go back to the Details tab to see what else we need to input into Edward's record. First is an alias. A person may have several names or aliases. YSCIS is able to record these and associate those aliases with a person record. This is done in the Details tab. Edward is also known as Ted to his mates, and it's prudent to record this. I'll click on Create New Alias. Type Ted into his given name, and I'll put his surname in there as well, although it's not mandatory. And I'll save the sex is mandatory, and now I'm going to save that. And note how Ted is now displayed below the primary name in the Details tab. Creating a new relationship. Edward has a sister called Emma. I'd like to record this relationship, so I'll click on Create New Relationship. And Emma's not showing, so it looks like we need to add Emma as a new person. So we get the same consent. I'll do that later. Emma's a year younger than Edward. And I'll save that. So once you have the name, then we need to show how Emma is related. So we click on is Edward's sister. So relationships aren't assumed to be permanent. When the relationship is no longer current, recording an end date will end the relationship. So I'll press save now that I've recorded that. And we see now that Emma and that relationship is now saved in Edward's record in the Details tab. Creating an address. Let's now enter an address for Edward. So let's click Create New Address. Put in Edward's address. And when I click in the suburb and start typing, it auto-populates. So I click on it and then it fills in the state and the postcode. To the right is an envelope. If I click on that, then this is entering the details if that person is care of an address. This is Edward's home address. If it wasn't, if there are several addresses associated with a person, you can click the address type and note the various options that you can select from. So it's his home, so I'll leave it at that. And then I also need to indicate is this the primary address, in which case the record will be based around this one address. And is this address still current? Because Edward has a sister relationship recorded, Emma, then that relationship shows up down the bottom of this screen, prompting you to indicate whether the relationship person is also at this address. So yes, Emma lives at this address as well. So I'm going to tick a current address for Emma. And save. We know Edward's place of work, so I'm going to record that as well. Create a new address. And it's also prompting me to say that the primary address has already been selected. That was his home. And so it's automatically selecting no for the primary address. Let's put in his work address. And select work. And this isn't his primary address, but it is current. And Emma doesn't reside here, so I'm pressing save. So we now have 2 addresses for Edward. Creating a new econtact. In addition to his address, we can create a contact details, and that's done via Create New eContact. So I'm going to click on that and put in Edward's mobile number. So that's the details of the contact, and the contact type is his mobile. And it's current contact, it's not an old mobile number, so I'm pressing yes, save, and now that shows up in his contact details. If Edward provides other contact details, such as other mobiles or other records, see it's even Skype or Facebook, then all of these can be recorded in this section. Assigning a key worker. Moving down the details page, I'm going to create a key worker for Edward. I'm managing Edward's case, so I'll acknowledge this by adding myself as the key worker. So I click on Create New Key Worker, and the person entering, so the current user of this system, shows up in the key worker field. But I could select somebody else from my work group in this list. If the key worker was somebody external to the work group, then we can select Other and then put those details in these fields here. I will leave this as me because I am Edward's key worker. There's another option in this drop down for team managed and that's in case the client is managed by a group of people and not one specific person. The start date of the key worker defaults to today, but this can be backdated. When I have eventually finished working with Edward, to end it, I can click No as not a current key worker, and I'd put in an end date as to when that finished. So I'm currently Edward's key worker, so I'm going to press Save. And note my name shows up as the key worker. If this was to change and I wanted to modify this, I can click on my name and bring it up and change the details. Same with any of these details we've put in. If we click on the street address, we can go and change it over on the right-hand side of the screen. That completes this module. Let's review what we have covered. We've used the search functionality to find clients. We've added a new person record. We've created a new consent. We've created a new alias. We've created a new relationship. We've created an address. We've created a new econtact and assigned a key worker. Thank you for watching this YSCIS training module. There are a number of support options available for you. The YSCIS User Manual provides detailed instructions for using YSCIS to support service delivery for youth support services. This is a helpful reference and can be accessed by the link on the login page, taking you to the Department's Youth Support webpage. Guidance for using features not specifically tailored for YSCIS is available via online help. If you experience any problems with YSCIS, please contact the Info Exchange support team by phone or email using the details on this slide. If you have a practice-related query, please contact the Youth Support Program by email at cismailbox@communities.qld.gov.au. Thank you.